How are celebrities aging backwards overnight, or just shrinking into completely different people? In 2026, bodies are changing so fast it's not discipline anymore, it's a full-blown industry secret nobody wants to admit. You've seen the headlines, the denials, the suspiciously identical weight loss. But no one's connecting the dots. This video breaks down what's really driving these Ozempic transformations, who's quietly using it, and why it's getting harder to hide. Stay until the end, because one pattern exposes everything. Ariana Grande has always built her image around a notably petite frame, something audiences have associated with her since her early rise to fame. Yet lately, even by her own long-established standards, her appearance has sparked a level of attention that feels less like admiration and more like quiet alarm. Recent photos and public outings have fueled ongoing conversation, with many pointing to what they describe as an increasingly fragile look. Observers frequently highlight her slimmer arms, sharper facial structure, and an overall narrower silhouette. Compared to earlier phases of her career, the contrast is difficult to ignore, no matter how politely people try to frame it. What's more revealing is the tone of the reaction. This isn't the usual celebrity nitpicking. Longtime fans, the kind who followed her for years, are expressing genuine concern rather than casual judgment. Questions about her well-being keep resurfacing, especially as she balances intense schedules, including major projects like Wicked, alongside constant public scrutiny. To her credit, Grande has addressed these discussions, reminding people that appearances rarely tell the full story, and that health cannot be accurately measured through photos alone. Still, in an industry currently obsessed with rapid transformations, conversations inevitably drift towards speculation. The shadow of medications like Ozempic lingers in the background, whether fairly or not, or no confirmation exists, of course, but that hasn't stopped people from drawing their own conclusions. In the end, beneath the polished headlines and carefully worded defenses, what remains is a mix of unease and reluctant curiosity, with many simply hoping she is, despite everything, genuinely well. Christina Aguilera has spent decades being recognized as one of the most powerful vocalists of her generation, a performer whose voice carried as much weight as her carefully crafted image. Confidence, femininity, and emotional intensity weren't just part of her brand. They were the foundation of how audiences connected with her. Lately, though, her return to the spotlight has triggered a different kind of attention. Recent appearances show a noticeably slimmer figure, with some observers suggesting she now resembles an earlier version of herself, almost like a visual rewind. In an industry where reinvention is expected, that alone wouldn't raise eyebrows. But the speed and visibility of this shift have made people look twice. Her facial features, once defined by softness, now appear more sculpted, giving her an updated, sharper look that doesn't go unnoticed. Predictably, reactions split down the middle. Some frame it as empowerment, a controlled transformation in an industry that rarely allows aging without consequence. Others see it as part of a larger pattern, one tied to Hollywood's ongoing obsession with rapid weight loss and the whispers surrounding medications like Ozempic. To be clear, Aguilera has never confirmed using anything of the sort. Still, that hasn't slowed speculation. For longtime fans, the conversation runs deeper than surface-level change. It raises uncomfortable questions about evolving beauty standards, authenticity, and the quiet pressure on public figures to constantly recalibrate their image just to remain relevant in a business that rarely tolerates stillness. Kelly Clarkson has never relied on illusion to win over an audience. For years, she's been almost unusually candid about her weight, body image, and the reality that bodies change, whether Hollywood approves or not. That kind of honesty built trust, especially with viewers who are a little too old to believe in industry fairy tales. Lately, though, the tone surrounding her appearance has shifted. While continuing to juggle a demanding schedule, including hosting The Kelly Clarkson Show, she now appears noticeably slimmer. Her frame looks smaller, her features more defined, and the change has happened quickly enough to make people pause, if not outright speculate. Naturally, the timing hasn't helped. Her transformation lands right in the middle of Hollywood's ongoing fixation with rapid weight loss, where conversations almost automatically drift toward medications like Ozempic. Fair or not, Once that narrative starts, it tends to stick. To her credit, Clarkson hasn't leaned into that narrative. She's consistently framed her journey in more grounded terms, focusing on lifestyle changes, improved health, and feeling stronger rather than crediting any single shortcut. It's a refreshingly practical explanation in an industry that prefers mystery over moderation. For longtime fans, especially those who remember her from American Idol, the discussion feels less like gossip and more like observation. She still carries herself with confidence, still looks at ease. But the speed of the transformation says more about the environment around her than the choices she's made. A reminder that in Hollywood, even authenticity gets analyzed like a marketing strategy. Meghan Trainor built her career on something Hollywood usually treats like a temporary phase: confidence without apology. When All About That Bass dominated the charts, she wasn't just selling a catchy hook. She was quietly pushing back against an industry obsessed with shrinking women into trends, which is exactly why her recent transformation has people talking. In newer appearances, she looks noticeably slimmer, with a leaner frame and more defined facial features than many remember. The reaction has been predictably inconsistent: praise from some, surprise from others, and criticism from those who seem determined to be dissatisfied no matter what direction the scale moves. What makes her case slightly less mysterious is that she's actually addressed it. After pregnancy, Trainor spoke openly about working with a dietitian, committing to regular exercise, and focusing on long-term health. She also mentioned using Mounjaro as part of that process, while noting Ozempic didn't work for her, a detail that conveniently places her right in the center of Hollywood's current medication-fueled weight loss conversation. Still, she frames the change around strength, energy, and being present for her children, not chasing some recycled industry ideal. And yet the response says more about the audience than the transformation itself. When she was fuller, she was judged. Now that she's slimmer, she's analyzed. Apparently, the only unacceptable thing in Hollywood is staying exactly the same. Lana Del Rey has never been a static figure, not in her music and certainly not in her image. Across different phases of her career, she embraced a fuller, more natural look that many fans quietly appreciated, especially in an industry that tends to reward sameness over individuality. Recently, though, the shift in her appearance has become harder to ignore. In newer photos and public appearances, she looks noticeably slimmer, with the change unfolding quickly enough to spark ongoing discussion. Her facial features, once softer and more rounded, now appear more sculpted, giving her a sharper, more refined look that contrasts with earlier eras. As expected, the speed of this transformation has invited speculation. Some observers question whether such visible changes align with the slower, more predictable results of diet and exercise alone. Instead, the conversation often drifts toward a familiar narrative, one tied to Hollywood's current fixation on rapid weight loss and the persistent rumors surrounding medications like Ozempic. To be precise, Del Rey herself has not confirmed any explanation, which hasn't stopped people from forming their own conclusions anyway. For longtime listeners, particularly those who have followed her since Born to Die, the reaction feels layered. There's curiosity, certainly, but also a quieter sense of concern. Her artistry remains intact, if not stronger. Yet the conversation around her appearance reveals something broader and slightly uncomfortable. In today's entertainment landscape, even the most distinctive identities are still measured against an ever-shifting standard, where change is expected but never accepted without scrutiny. Sharon Osbourne stands out in this entire conversation for one inconvenient reason. She actually said the quiet part out loud. While most celebrities sidestep the topic, she openly admitted to using Ozempic as part of her weight loss journey, offering something rare in Hollywood, a first-hand account that isn't wrapped in vague language. In interviews, she described losing a significant amount of weight in a short period. At first glance, it looked like the exact result the industry quietly chases: fast, visible, and camera-ready. But according to Osbourne herself, it didn't stop where she expected. The weight loss went further than intended, crossing into territory she later admitted felt excessive. That shift didn't go unnoticed. Observers pointed out a more drawn appearance, particularly in her face, which appeared less full and more fragile than before. Not exactly the glossy transformation typically sold to the public. More importantly, she has been clear about the physical toll. Regaining balance after such rapid change proved difficult, a detail often missing from the polished narratives surrounding these medications. Her experience complicates the story, especially as drugs like Ozempic become increasingly normalized in celebrity culture. For many viewers, particularly older audiences who still value blunt honesty over curated perfection, her story lands differently. It feels less like a success story and more like a warning. Not everything that works quickly works well, and in Hollywood, that distinction tends to get edited out. Jessica Simpson has lived under a microscope for most of her adult life, where every shift in weight, style, or personal decision somehow becomes public property. From her early pop career to building the Jessica Simpson collection into a retail success, her image has never really been allowed to just exist without commentary. In recent appearances, she looks noticeably slimmer than many remember. Her frame appears reduced, and her facial features, once softer and fuller, now come across as more sharply defined. It's the kind of change that, fairly or not, makes people pause and start doing side-by-side comparisons like amateur investigators. For some, the transformation feels more dramatic than what's typically associated with routine exercise or standard dieting. Phrases like Hollywood thin have started circulating. A polite way of suggesting something faster, more accelerated, might be at play. Longtime followers, particularly older audiences who have watched her navigate fame, motherhood, and constant scrutiny, tend to see more than just a visual shift. They recognize the pattern. Every time her body changes, the conversation resets, speculation replaces context, and conclusions form long before facts catch up. To be fair, Simpson has spoken openly in the past about her health journey, including weight changes after pregnancy and her efforts to maintain balance. Still, in today's climate, where rapid transformations are often linked, accurately or not, to medications like Ozempic, assumptions tend to fill in the blanks. And as usual, the obvious point gets overlooked. Appearance may be visible, but the full story almost never is. Across Christina Aguilera, Kelly Clarkson, Ariana Grande, Meghan Trainor, Lana Del Rey, Sharon Osbourne, and Jessica Simpson, one thing is obvious. In Hollywood, change is expected, but never accepted without scrutiny. Behind every transformation is a mix of pressure, choice, and an audience ready to speculate before facts exist. And somehow, no version is ever right enough. At the end of the day, trends will shift, headlines will move on, but health and stability matter more than any passing standard. Like, share, subscribe, or don't. Hollywood will keep doing this either way.